Hello and welcome to the first edition of the 2011 season for Pewter Power. And we were out playing golf just a little while ago, and now we dodging the raindrops.
Dodging the rain. This is Mike Deem, the sports machine.
And he is Joe Bell, football Joe, as we say.
As we say.
That's right. So we're ready to go with
we
Buccaneer
really
football.
care. Football is back.
That's right.
My God, it has been...
It was 133 days.
It was a nightmare. For those of us that are football fans, it was a nightmare.
It was.
We were tired. We didn't want to hear any more about it. We didn't want to hear about a $9 billion industry that has tons of money, fight over who gets how much.
We didn't want the billionaires versus the millionaires thing constantly going on. But
it actually, I think it came out okay. They have a 10-year agreement in place, so the next 10 years it's going to be happy for the NFL to go on, and things are going to look pretty well for them, I think.
And for all you fans out there, that makes a big difference because of a lot of changes that happened with it. Maybe we'll go through that a little bit, Joe, for them to give them some highlights.
Yeah, and you can tell. Right away, rookies have all signed, pretty much. I think the entire rookie class is signed at this point. So there's really nobody hold out. But the first rounders have guaranteed contracts. Now, I know this year's first pick from Auburn, Alabama, I don't remember who it is. The quarterback, Cam Newton. See, it took me a second. Cam Newton, he got half of what Sam Bradford got the year before.
That's right.
Sam Bradford got like a $72 million contract over like 7 years. He got like a $36 million contract
with less
over
guaranteed
4.
money.
He got, but his was totally guaranteed.
Right.
So that's the new deal all the picks, even Tampa's first pick so late in the first at 20 was totally guaranteed his contract, Claiborne, from start to finish. So you're seeing early in the draft they're less money, but they're guaranteeing that money over the 4 years with an option for a fifth on the first rounders. And then as it drops down, the scale drops down there. And that's a big difference where the money went.
Right.
That they needed to shift the money around. You've got these guys, you got the Ryan Leafs that get $80 million and play one game and are gone.
Yeah.
So now they've shifted that money to the guarantee for what they're going to get to now. They guarantee that amount, but it's not as much. But it's all
less
guaranteed.
Time normally.
And less time so they can get a new contract after their first 4 to 5 years.
Right.
So it's way better.
There's a lot of changes on the CBA, and it's a lot of stuff. We'll go through that through the whole year. And
the next couple weeks, a lot more is going to happen because teams are still cutting players and picking up players. You're going to see a lot over the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
Not a big change in Tampa, but may see a little more over the next couple weeks now that things have settled down. They did the right things, which we're going to talk about a little bit.
And to tell you what, if you weren't excited about as a fantasy player on the movement of the players within that free agency period, you're crazy because that is something that you have to really follow that.
4 months of free agency happened in 5 days.
5 days.
Chad Ochocinco goes to New England.
New England.
Those of you who are in fantasy football, put Tom Brady and Chad Ochocinco together. He just became a great fantasy football player from a mediocre fantasy football player.
Right.
So fantasy is a huge difference. I actually did my first draft earlier in the week on Monday night.
Yep.
Which I can't believe we did a draft already. Nobody's even played a game yet. But that was hard to do because players move so much. You don't know how Kevin Cole's going to do in Arizona.
How did you do that?
How's he going to do with Larry Fitzgerald? Are they going to gel? Is it going to be great, or is it going to be horrible?
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know at all.
There's a lot of things going on, and what's great about it is we're all excited about it. We have something to talk about.
All I know that happened is Tampa Bay came out with their first depth chart for the game tomorrow night against Kansas City.
Yep.
And that's a big deal. So we're going to roll into that, right?
Let's talk about, because this is Pewter Power, and we're going to talk about the Bucs. So let's go into the offense first, and just tell us what your depth chart is seeing, and if there's any movement in that.
Even though it's been a short off season, I've had the opportunity to go to quite a few training camps already. So I've got a little bit. If you've been on our Facebook page, you'll see a ton of stuff I'm putting on there about what's going on. Team looks really good. Again, we're going to talk in the next segment a little bit about Dominic choosing to re-sign players and not sign players in spots of need. Offensively, they look really, really good. I'm very surprised how they look right now. Mike Williams is probably the best route running receiver in the NFL right now, and I can honestly say that as a second-year player. And you've got Fox Sports, you've got ESPN. They're all saying the same thing. Right. The kid is incredible. He's torching everybody on the defense on a good defense with corners, doing a great job. The other side's Aurelius Ben. Remember, he got hurt late in the season with a leg injury. He is 100%. Desmond Briscoe, he also came in late in the season. He is doing awesome. He has actually been the star of the wide receivers in training camp as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Other than Mike Williams, who is Mike Williams.
Right.
So
now let's go offensive line. I mean,
the line's pretty interesting.
Joseph and Trueblood are back.
Joseph and Trueblood are back. They have actually set Trueblood as a starter, which surprises me over James Lee. James Lee did great at the end of last year.
I thought so too.
But they gave Jeremy Trueblood $5 million for 2 years, so they obviously think he can still be the starter. You know, he got hurt last year. He was in and out. So we'll see. It's going to be one or the other. Preseason games are going to show whether or not he's going to be the starter or not.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Davin Joseph's doing great. Jeff Bain's a little older. They are next year going to have to draft somebody to replace him because he's getting to that age where he isn't going to make it much longer. Ted Larson's still there doing great. Donald Penn looks great. No problem at all. Donald Penn, actually, watched him against Claiborne and in some one-on-ones, and he stopped him almost every time. And Claiborne is an animal, which we're going to talk about the defense when we come back in the next segment.
Right.
But offensively, LeGarrette Blount looks incredible.
So what's the tandem going to be in the backfield? Cadillac's gone. You guys don't know, Cadillac has been released.
He is now with the St. Louis Rams. He signed a one-year deal, and we're going to in the next couple of weeks talk about all these one-year deals for all these players that have left. You know, the Barrett Roots and all that. He looks great. LeGarrette Blount looks great. It's going to be Ernest Graham and Craig Lumpkin. Lumpkin was
a fullback or the tailback?
He's going to be a running back. He's a little bigger.
Ernest Graham?
He's going to be both.
Okay.
He's actually shown as a starting fullback.
Okay.
But actually Eric Lorig.
Remember Eric Lorig? Yeah, he came in last year.
He is a great blocker, so they want to keep him in the games with LeGarrette
Blount, right.
Because LeGarrette Blount, you figure he didn't play 3/4 of a season out over 1,000 yards. He could be a 1,500-yard back for Tampa this year.
Right.
So that's a big deal. So that's where we're at with that. We're actually going to come back. Yep. We're going to talk about the defense. It's just hard. We only have 2 segments this week. Next week, we're going to have a ton of information because we'll have a game under our belt as well.
That's right.
But we're going to come back. We're going to talk about the defense. We're going to talk about the first-round pick, the second-round pick, the third-round pick. All 3 starters for Tampa Bay. Oh, my. That's going to be interesting.
And also, I know we want to touch on how Mark Dominic and Raheem Morris, what they have done and accomplished in this year and what we're looking for next year. So stay tuned. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Pewter Power on WYKE. I gotta get you saying it now.
Start over.
We'll hit a shack now. Don't hit a shack. Whoa. It's all good.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, crud.
Hey, welcome to Pewter Power. I'm Mike Deem.
Football Joe
Bell. And we're here. We had last segment. We were talking about the offensive depth chart. Going to go into that a little bit. We only got 2 segments this show.
So we're not going to go too
kind
deep
of rushing through it, I know, but we'll get into it a little bit more in the coming weeks, especially when we start coming back from those preseason games in the press box. We can find out some more information. Yeah. But let's go on, Joe, to
talk
the
defensive real quick. Talk defense real quick. Well, again, like I said in the last segment, we're going to probably start the first-round pick, Claiborne.
Right.
The second-round pick, Bowers, who is not scheduled to start.
He's on the second round. Yeah, he's Bennett.
Scheduled to start, but I've seen Bowers. He's going to start at some point very quickly.
Okay.
And you've got Mason Foster, who actually is another one I didn't think was going to start because I thought Tyrone McKenzie would have that position locked up. But let me tell you guys, you are going to be amazed at how fast Mason Foster is.
Really?
And how quickly he's picking up the offense.
So he's no Rude.
He is no Root. Yeah, he's not Root. He's just not. And again, Barrett Root has left the team. Another one-year contract gone to the Tennessee Titans.
Yep. So talk about we got the offensive line. I mean, the defensive line.
Defensive line is solid.
Solid, pretty good.
You figure we've got 2 first-year players, 2 second-year players, and a third-year player all along the line that are our starting rotation.
Right.
That's amazing, and they're all first, second, or third-round picks. That's big for us over the next 2 or 3 years.
So we feel like we're going to have a run-stopping duo, and we got a pass rushing.
I will tell you, Claiborne is a huge run stopper. So I'm pretty interested to see how he does at right defensive end because he can stop the rush. Bowers reminds me of Simeon Rice, and you're going to see in this first preseason game when he plays, when he gets into his position, his three-point position, his helmet is this far off the ground.
Really?
I don't know how he does it. But and Simeon Rice used to do that too.
Yeah,
he went really low, and he knows Simeon. He knew Simeon Rice, and watched him heavily. He is the fastest person I've ever seen come off the ball, like Simeon did.
Okay.
Come just like that, and he was in the backfield.
So his first move is going to be very difficult for the tackles to take care of.
His first move is huge, so it's going to be big. Gerald McCoy got hurt in practice early in the week in his shoulder, but he's fine. Roy Miller looks great. Brian Price, he's a little big. Remember, he's the one that got a hip injury. He's got some bolts put in his hip. He came to camp out of shape, but he still blew up into the offense quite a few times.
Okay.
So they are behind. They're behind the offense, but only because it's early on. So.
Well, defense, is going to be a little bit quicker, I think, than they get into the games. They'll be a little bit better. What about the linebacker core? We talked about that
linebacker,
quickly.
Mason Foster again. He's a rookie, but I would expect him to start. Him and Tyrone McKenzie to swap back and forth. Geno Hayes and Adam Hayward are going to hold on the weak side. You
got Quincy Black.
Quincy Black re-signed for $37 million. He's a good football player, so they are sure he's going to be that person for that position.
Okay. What about the secondary?
Secondary looks great as long as they all can play. Aqib Talib, if everybody doesn't know, he got in an altercation in the offseason. He has a trial coming up for a felony with a gun. That's not coming up till March, so very well he could play the whole season before that comes up.
Okay.
Innocent until proven guilty, I guess. Rondé Barber, E.J. Biggers look awesome. I've seen no problem in the secondary or safety positions with Tampa. They are
Cody
solid.
Grimm, Sean Jones,
Corey Lynch. We just picked up Ahmad Black from the Gators. He's a little bit of a young guy. He's tiny. You would never believe how small this guy is, but great football player.
Right.
And they were very lucky to get him late in the draft because he had a bad 40 at the combine.
Oh, Ahmad?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. That's right.
He had a bad 40, 4.7 or something.
I have to ask one question. I think, and maybe you don't know, but punter.
Yes, we did.
Signed a punter.
We signed a punter for $19 million. Now, everybody's on Facebook.
Wrong. I know. And I think, you know what?
That's the bet. We lost games last year for kicking and punting.
All right.
Now, I watched him in practice. He kicked every ball. Now, he's going to do kickoffs as well. Atlanta's punter is where he came from, Atlanta. They stole him from Atlanta. He's actually top 5 in the league for kickoffs into the end zone and punting average.
He's top 5 in paid now, too.
And he's top 5 paid as a punter. But Tampa Bay has very clearly said, and Dominic has clearly said 100 times, we are only going to bring in free agents for weak positions.
Right.
Now, if they've drafted a first or second rounder, they don't think that's a weak position anymore.
Right.
So they have not, he said, if we draft poorly, which they did in punting, they had not drafted a good punter, they've gotten a couple, they went out and found one.
They had one last year, they drafted him and he didn't do the job.
They've brought in a couple people, they brought Alan Bradshaw in as running back, another one. They're going to wait and see. That's why they let Cadillac go.
I mean, I really, we touched on this just a little bit, but we talked about it. We said we were going to talk about it. Dominic and Morris have a particular game plan that they're following.
Right.
Be damned, whatever they're trying to do.
You've heard the last couple weeks, everybody's freaking out because
they're not spending the money.
And I was at practice, and I sat next to a guy. He was a great guy, big Bucks fan, but man, he was tearing my ear up once he knew that I'd get on shows to do this. I can't believe they're $51 million under the cap. They're not buying any players. They're not doing anything. I said, well, they are. They've spent $100 million in a week. $100 million. They've re-signed a lot of their players, re-signed a lot of people they don't want to let go that are all young. This team's got a long way to go. Maybe they aren't sure they're going to be a great team this year. Last year was a little bit of an enigma, I would say, because they won 10 games with a really young team. Now, this year they've got a hard schedule again, so we're going to see.
And expectations are a little bit higher.
Can they win 10 again?
Yes.
I don't know.
And higher.
If it's my choice, I'm going to say we're 7-9.
Well,
or 9-7.
Well, you're calling it right now. I mean, I'm going to wait till a couple of preseason games before I make that prediction. But
I think we're going to be. Sorry, we're going to be in the 9-7 range.
I think we're going to be fine. I mean,
maybe 10-6.
We just have to play out the preseason and play, and our guys have to play their positions and do right from what Mark Dominic and Raheem Morris want them to do in the game plan. So I think we're going to be fine. Okay, are we going to make the Super Bowl?
Probably not. But can we, in the next couple of years, be a powerhouse team in the NFL? Oh, yeah. You have no idea.
And they will compete in every game. I'm telling you that. We will be.
Oh, yeah. That's one thing I like. They're young, they're hungry, and they play hard, and they play nasty.
That's That's right.
These
and
guys hit hard.
Down on the bottom, you'll see it, pewterpower.net. That is our newest website.
Yep, it'll be going up in about another week and a half. It'll be live, so you'll be able to get on that, get live updates and news and copies of our show.
Yep.
And